so excited that you're here. I'm guessing, do I have to tell you to click it? Great. So you can probably go ahead. Yay! So I'm speaking about storge. I looked it up, unlike Aaron, and that's how you pronounce it. It's storge, not storage, just for the record. It's Greek. That's what the internet told me. Obviously, it's the most reliable. So, this is the first of the 4 loves that we will be talking about at Chapel for like this week or the following 3 weeks. We're getting them from this wonderful book by C.S. Lewis called 4 Loves, and it's a pretty great book. So, like Aaron said last week, pick it up and read it if you want, and feel like you want to learn more about these loves than what we tell you here at Chapel. So before we go into the love that I'm going to be talking about today, I want to make sure that we kind of talk a little bit about the kind of love in general, right? So I went to C.S. Lewis, as you know, I should, because that's what we're basing the message on, right? So I went to the introduction where I was like, all right, great, he's going to like define love for us, and I'm going to just like say that to them, it's going to be great. So I went through the introduction, and there was no good definition in that introduction. Like C.S. Lewis was not like, yo, this is love, and I was like, dang it, C.S. Lewis, what are you doing to me? But I guess that's why he wrote a whole book, right? Like he couldn't write it in one sentence. So I will say that, okay.
Sorry.
It's good. But he did in the introduction kind of differentiate between 2 different types of love that will come up through the following weeks, and I'll talk about it in my love tonight too. So there's need love and there's gift love. Need love, C.S. Lewis defines as the love that is instinctual, that is like a need for others physically, emotionally, intellectually. His example is that it's like a lonely, frightened child who runs to his mother's arms, you know, if there's a thunderstorm or something. Whereas gift love, he went on about it for paragraphs. It's another, like, he didn't give me a concise answer. So I defined it down to the kind of unnecessary giving of oneself, like sacrificing selfless acts of love, which C.S. Lewis gave the example of a person who plans and works to save for the future well-being of his family, but may never live to see that come to fruition. So you should know those 2. They'll come up again, I'm sure. So the scripture for tonight is the one piece of scripture in the New Testament that, you know, this is Romans, is one of Paul's letters, and Paul was Greek, so he wrote all his letters in Greek. So how about it? The loves that we're talking about from C.S. Lewis, the names are in Greek. So we know that this, the love that I'm going to talk about tonight, storge, is used once in the New Testament by Paul in this passage of Romans. And so I'll read it. It says, love must be sincere, hate what is evil, cling to what is good, be devoted to one another in love, honor one another above yourselves, never be lacking in zeal, but keep your spiritual fervor, serving the Lord. Be joyful in hope, patient in affliction, faithful in prayer. Share with the Lord's people who are in need, practice hospitality. Bless those who persecute you, bless and do not curse. Rejoice with those who rejoice, mourn with those who mourn. Live in harmony with one another, do not be proud, but be willing to associate with people of low position. Do not be conceited. So I think that you'll understand why this passage is so perfect for the storge I'm going to talk about today. So storge directly translates as the word love, as used in this English version of the passage. But if you want to actually kind of dive into what it means, it translates to the word affection. That's good. So, before I explain what affection is, what do you guys think affection means? Like, just shout out, like, a word or a phrase or whatever. Physical touch. That's a good one. All right, what else? Physical touch. Positive affirmations. I saw a finger pointing. Oh, I heard. Quality time. Okay, so now we're like getting into the 5 love languages. So we're thinking affection is the 5 love languages. Well, you're wrong. Well, not really. It's just like sort of wrong. So the way that C.S. Lewis uses the word affection, like all of those that you're talking about are kind of the things that happen between like romantic relationships, right? But we're not talking talking about romantic love tonight. We're talking about affection, which is actually, as C.S. Lewis defines it, is a familial love. So between a parent and offspring and parent, between siblings, and between spouses, generally too. And he describes it as this like weird paradox, that it's a need love, but what it means is to give, and it's a gift love, but it needs to be needed. And I think that's really easily seen, through the like parent-child family relationship, right? Like you need your family, you need that love, but a lot of what comes from that love is giving and sacrificing oneself for those people. But it also needs to be needed. So it's kind of a weird paradox, right? It's all right. But the cool thing about affection is that it's kind of the most basic level of love out of the four that we have. It's kind of the most natural, it's the most instinctual of the four, and it really is cool because most of the other loves you can pinpoint a beginning, right? You can usually pinpoint the moment that you fall in love with someone. You can pinpoint the moment that like a really good, your best friend, that moment that you really became best friends, you can kind of look back and pinpoint a moment. But with affection, it's hard to kind of see where just familiarity turns into having a caring affection for someone else. And the really other cool part about affection, unlike some of the other loves, is that it's kind of this foundation of the other loves. Affection, as C.S. Lewis says, besides being love itself, can enter into the other loves and color them all through and become the very medium in which from day to day they operate. And so it's those 5 love languages, that plays a part, right? A lot of those, quality time, acts of service, those are acts of affection, but that isn't what affection is in itself. Am I like totally losing you? I hope not. Okay, this is good. So, C.S. Lewis goes on to talk about affection and says that affection broadens our minds. Of all natural loves, it is the most Catholic, so I will admit I wanted to Google this because I was like, wait, so I'm United Methodist, does that mean I can't have affection? No! It's using Catholic as an adjective, so of course I Googled it. So Catholic, and this is an adjective, just so we all know, means broad or wide-ranging taste, interested, like having sympathies with all, broad-minded, universal in extent, involving all, of interest to all. Goes on to say the least finical, which also means finicky, I Googled that too. And the broadest. So of course, C.S. Lewis went through 2 words first and then just gave us the 3rd word, which is the summary of the first two cool C.S. Lewis. But either way, the people with whom you are thrown together in the family, the college, the mess, the ship, the religious house, are from this point of view a wider circle than the friends, however numerous, whom you have made for yourself in the outer world. So you might not be having the big light bulb moment that I had while reading this, but this was like this huge aha moment for me, because I know that I have kind of always struggled with what to call my Christian family people, because I want to call them my friends, but sometimes really I guess I don't really have a friendship with them. I might not have anything in common with them. I might not ever really hang out with them outside of the times that I see them in church or in chapel or Bible study or whatever it may be. But I call them my friends to people. That's always been a paradox to me. So I want to use the right word for them, but I guess they're really my friends, but I care about them. I have this love for them. Well, now I know it's affection. We're a church, we're a Christian family, which is so cool. So now I know, all right, you guys are maybe not my friends, which you'll find out about next week. This isn't an insult, I swear. You'll find out about that next week. Come back to make sure that it's not an insult next week, right?
I'm really hurt.
But you guys are all part of my Christian family.
Thought we were
Isn't it great?
friends.
It's great. It's wonderful. We love each other. So come back next week. Make sure that's not an insult. It isn't, I promise. But the Christian family is this really cool place, right? That we all can come together and have this time in affection for each other, even though we might not have anything in common. And it's something that I really cherished through my years of going to Christian camp and being a part of youth group and chapel here, is that it's this place where people come that never would have met each other anywhere else. I am not an athlete, but there are definitely athletes in the room that I might not have associated with if I hadn't met them here. And so that's really cool that we have this really special thing here with this Christian communities that bring us together as that, and bring us together in affection and in family love for each other. talked about that affection is really this like least discriminating of loves, but its objects have to be familiar. So that's familiar, family, right? You have to know each other a little bit. As I heard it described very well, is that kind of like you're really strong acquaintances. Maybe not friends, but strong acquaintances. And so there needs to be no apparent fitness between those who may unite, so ignorance of various of age, sex, class, education. And as it says, that attraction can love the unattractive. God and his saints love the unlovable. Affection does not expect too much. It turns a blind eye to faults, revives easily after quarrels, just as charity, which is another love we'll talk about in 3 weeks, suffers long, is kind and forgives. This is the way that we are called to love each other as the family of Christ, as the family chapel and Albion's Christian community. And this is the love that we as chapel leaders really want to see flourish in this space. This is a place where all denominations, people of all different education levels, we have first years through seniors here, can come together and worship and fellowship together and just be a part of that family, and that's really cool. Another really cool thing about affection that C.S. Lewis pointed out is that affection is, as he says, an affair of old clothes. It's of the unguarded moment of liberties which would be ill-bred if we took them as strangers. So, I know probably some of you heard, I wasn't really speaking too much before the service because I could say my throat was bothering me. My main mode of communication was with my hands, and I may have kind of smacked Will a couple times when he kept making me speak. And it was like, well, no, I'm not hitting him because I hate him. I'm hitting him because I love him, because he's my brother, and he's making me mad. So, affection gives us that privilege to kind of break out of the normal courtesies that we have to have amongst strangers, which is really cool. And so, as C.S. Lewis says, affection at its best can say whatever affection at its best wishes to say, regardless of the rules that govern public courtesy. So you can say shut up, I want to read to someone, to your brother or sister if they're bothering you, and they know deep down at least somewhere, love them. So my favorite example of this in my life, so I told you about Will today, but my favorite example of all time is the fact that I went 2 years ago on this mission trip with a few of you here to Detroit for a week over spring break, and it was called the Detroit Urban Plunge. And our chapter of InterVarsity went and met with this other chapter of InterVarsity from MSU, and we were staying a week with these people that we had never met before. And we were like, oh man, this is we're spending this week with these people that we've never met before. And it's crazy how the family of God brings us together, because surely before we knew it, we were cracking poop and fart jokes all the time, and it was just normal. It was whatever. And that's my favorite example, because I remember talking at the end of the week and being like, man, we got really close. We were talking about things that you don't really talk about with other people, and it was because of the cool affection, and it was just really cool. So that's really great. Affection is this really great community, and it creates this really great environment, and we all love it. It gives us the warm fuzzies. But we also have to be careful with affection, right? It has its faults and its dangers. So sometimes we have to be careful, if someone is outside of our affection community, of our community that we love each other, we want to make sure that we aren't being too crazy obvious about it, right? Make sure they're included, especially. But the big thing with affection that C.S. Lewis points out is that affection, like every other kind of love, has its liability to jealousy. And the jealousy of affection is closely connected with its reliance on what is old and familiar. And so change is a threat to affection. And that jealousy will probably be expressed by ridicule. So we have to be really careful sometimes. We're old and familiar, but when change occurs, it can give us a really strong opportunity for some negativity to sneak in without us realizing. Since affection is one of the most natural, instinctual kinds of love, can also manifest negatively in those ways too. Most dangerously, with the jealousy of affection, it creates us and them situations pretty easily. And C.S. Lewis pointed out that it's especially within religious conversions within families. So either if someone who grows up in an atheist family comes to Christianity, the family doesn't know how to feel them anymore, and that affection is affected, or if it's the other way around, a really religious family and someone falls away from the faith, that is also a problem. So we see that in situations like that. We have so many opportunities here on a college campus to be broken out of what is old and familiar so quickly. And so we have to be careful about that on the college campus, but it's also very prevalent within the church as a whole and smaller down as well. You hear about some people that hear about, or that look down on other denominations for not doing things the same way that they do, or they get upset when someone kind of decides that they are going to be more comfortable going to a different church or be a part of a different congregation. And that happens here too, because in Albion's Christian community, we may not have denominations, but we have our own Christian organizations as well. And so I think that's our challenge here on Albion's campus, is to really make sure and press in to make sure that we are not creating those us and them situations, those tug of war for members kind of situations. We should realize that we're all part of this Albion Christian community together. As Paul says in Romans, he said that live in harmony with one another. And so, that implies that really there has to be something, at least two different entities, if they have to live in harmony with each other, right? And so, we're very called to be aware of those moments where jealousy can shake its ugly head, acknowledge it, and try our best to work through those moments and not act on that jealousy, so that we're not creating rifts within our Christian family here on Albion's campus. So C.S. Lewis ends the chapter with saying that affection produces happiness if and only if there's a common sense and give and take and decency. And so in this context, common sense is to me kind of like reason, using reason in your affection. So that old clothes thing, you can tease someone for a while, like where it's the right moment and the right time, but make sure you don't cross that line into where it's not right or it's not the right time. It's also a give and take. So you can pour affection onto someone a lot, but if you're not getting any back, that's just going to wear you out. And so I'm not saying do not love on that person, but sometimes just realize where your healthy boundaries are, where you need to get that given back. And with decency, as C.S. Lewis is defined as goodness, patience, self-denial, humility, continual intervention of a far higher sort of love than affection itself can ever be. And so this is where it comes in, that affection is kind of this base for all of the other loves to really flourish upon, right? So you can't be happy with only affection alone. You can have that, but you should also supplement it with having deeper friendships, romantic relationships, and with God's love, of course, as well. So do that. So going back to the beginning, affection is a need love that needs to give, and a gift love that needs to be needed. We are called to be brothers and sisters in Christ, to be a family together, and to love each other with sincerity, to be devoted to one another, to honor one another, to serve one another in hospitality, to not be conceited, and to live in harmony with each other. So for those of you, and I see many new faces that are here tonight, welcome to Albion Chapel. Welcome to Albion College as a whole. Welcome to our little part of the Christian family here at Albion. We are so excited that you are here. We hope to be a family to you and to love you without any buts. We strive to do that, and I will be the first to admit that we may not always be perfect at that. We're not going to be perfect all the time. But I hope that you come to have affection for us, so that that grace and love will be returned to us in those moments that we falter. And so as Aaron's graphic showed us last week, I will use it tonight, that I hope that here at Chapel you have seen and experienced what Christian family can be like, and that love and affection. And I hope that you will receive it or accept it. Or if you already have been, if you've been a member of Chapel for a while, I'm glad that you already have. So now I call you to show that affection, to shine that affection, the most natural and easiest of loves, to going to be with your Albion Christian family, whether that's here or a Bible study or maybe just a bonfire or frisbee or whatever that may be. Bring them along so that we can